We are set to begin. We're going to pass it to Mr. David Machado, excuse me, for our yearly Transportation Disadvantage Program presentation. He is ready to go. We are ready. We can stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This is David's favorite time of the year, so.
Oh, I didn't notice. Okay, I guess just a quick question that I asked this morning too. Has anybody not sat through one of these annual PD? Yeah, everybody else has, right? Okay, so for the ones that have been through it, same presentation, just a few updates as far as the PD trust fund funding amount for the ones that haven't sat through it. It's a run through of what the whole commission system is, what each party's part is, I guess, in the greater scheme of thing of providing the services, the eligibility, types of funding, types of CTC provider contracts. We'll go through it. And if you guys have any questions, just feel free to you can stop me during the presentation or wait till the end. It's fine with me. So this is a snapshot of the structure of the coordinated transportation systems. So as you can see, obviously all the way in the top is the TD riders, ultimately the most important and what guides the whole system. Obviously, it all starts with the governor. The governor appoints the commission for the transportation disadvantage. It's compiled of elected officials and other members of the community. Then the CTD, from now on CTD, Commission for Transportation Disadvantage. I try not to stumble my words with all the acronyms, but I can't promise that I won't. From there, the CTD designates the designated official planning agency or the DOPA. That is normally that falls on the MPO as a regional planning organization. It doesn't have to be the MPO. It could be any regional planning organization, if you want to call it, that provides transportation planning for that specific area. From there, the local coordinating board, from there, the DOPA appoints and staffs the local coordinating board, or the LCB, what we're doing here. Contrary to what this says, or should I add to it, not contrary, our approach to the appointment and staffing of the LCB, we work together with the county administration to gather, let's use the word appointees, as part of their county, in addition to communicating with the CTC, in this case, Breeze, to see who the proper people would be to be in the LCB. From there, the LCB oversees and recommends for designation or redesignation the CTCs. Again, Breeze. Breeze was reappointed last year? No, year before, right? Yeah. So it's been we're going on 2 years now. The designation or redesignations, I will cover a little bit more of this in the following slides, are for 5 years. Important in that 5th year for those that were part of this year's evaluation. On that 5th year, that evaluation doesn't happen. because in that fifth year, we're going through the process of redesignating or designating a new CTC. From there, the CTC can either provide a service or contract with a transportation operation. That's where Scott and his team come along, and other agencies that provide transportation services within Sarasota County. And from there, it breaks down into numerous other pieces, you know, all the way to the riders. So who and what are the riders? So who do we serve? We serve the elderly community, persons with disability, people with a low income, and at-risk children. What could they need the rides for? They would need it for medical services, work, school, groceries, et cetera, et cetera. This slide tries to give you a glance of what the program is in one slide, and what the three pillars or the legs of the stool, as they call to the whole TD service. So obviously there's the planning agency, in this case the MPO, there's the CTC, Breeze, and the LCB, everybody that's here today. And what is so in general, the coordinated system was established in 1979. From there, 10 years later, 1989, the TD Trust Fund was established, and the purpose was to deliver coordination of transportation service in each county. Implemented obviously the three primary entities, which we're just going to mention: the CTC, the planning agency, and the LCB. Then the CTD works with state and local partners to also purchase trips through the coordinated system, and reimburses the CTC through the multiple grants and funding allocations. So the Commission for Transportation Dispatch, or the CTD, what is the summary of responsibilities for the CTD? So the CTD implements as an independent agency that is administratively housed in FDOT, with a board appointed by the governor. It administers the TD Trust Fund and distributes funds through various grants programs, which we'll go through a few of them in a couple of slides. It develops policies, procedures governing the coordinated transportation system. It approves and contracts with the CTCs. That goes back to what the designation and the redesignation is. And it designates a planning agency, normally the MPO, which we talked about a little while ago. We'll go a few slides forward. We'll go. So these all provide kind of summaries. We'll go in as the slides progress. I'll try to go into a little bit more of a details as to what each one of them are. This is the funding slide that I mentioned earlier that was updated. Noticeably, the funding has gone up from last year to this year, roughly a little less than $800,000. And one key note about all of this is that the TD Trust Fund is 100% funded by state funding. There is no federal dollars involved in this. The greatest part of it comes from the registration, of the vehicles, the parking fees and donations. So you may ask, how does the registration of vehicles have anything to do with this? Well, part of the cost of registering or renewing the registration to the vehicles, part of that funding goes directly to the TD Trust Fund. There is another option, that's the donation part, which we'll talk about at the end. But again, noticeably everything comes from the state, and the biggest part comes from registration, parking, and donations. So here's kind of the process and the different different funding sources and how it works. I'll repeat like I did this morning, there is one missing there, which is the ISD grant. That isn't reflected there, I forgot to put it in, but the memorandum of agreement, we at least those, the CTC and those that have been involved in the LCB for a while, kind of know what that is. That's basically the understanding of the CTC and the TD commission that funds the greater part of it. From there, you got the trips and equipment grant. Trip and equipment grant is a formula-based grant that is provided to the CTCs to, again, to either buy vehicles or to provide a service. I guess we can all agree that funding is limited, but it's there. There's a Shirley Conroy grant, which the CTC, this is a competitive grant that the CTCs can choose to apply should they want to. The same thing with the one that's not here, the ISD grant. The ISD grant.
Innovative service development, I just.
I remembered it this morning and I forgot it again. So the ISD grant is another grant that the CTC can apply for what the name says, innovative services. So they can use it if they find some program that they can use, or so some system that they can use to better provide the TD community with services, or to work on cutting edge expansion to the system, again, to provide better and expand the services to the TD commission. There is limits to it. So the ISD grant, I thought I was saying something wrong. The ISD grant, if it's a one county CTC, the limit is $750,000. If it's two or more counties, is $1.5 million the limit. One notice changes that I just read earlier before I walked into the meeting. It used to be that where if you were awarded the ISD grant, it would stick with you you would get priority for the next 4 years. That has since been removed. So now it's taken under consideration every year. Moving on. So the designated planning agency, in this case, the NPO. So the responsibilities, yeah, maybe an NPO, regional planning council, or other local organization performing planning activities for the service area, assist the CTC and the LCB, implementing local TD programs, staffs and appoints the LCB, in conjunction with the municipalities, facilitates the procurement of the CTC and recommended approval by the CTD. I should note that we haven't done a procurement for the CTC because one of the caveats is if the person that you're contracted the CTC with is a government agency, the procurement is waived. So if it's a local transit agency, you don't have to go to the procurement. So that's why we've never seen that, and we hope to never have to see. Worked with the CTC and the LCB in the development of the TDSP plan. We'll talk about the TDSP in our meeting later today. What else? I reviews the annual AOR. And submits the LCB each year, which we'll see the AOR. We're looking at the AOR today?
Maybe not the OR. Today should be the rate model.
The rate model,
Yeah.
sorry, yes. The local coordinator, a local coordinating board. That's everybody here. What does the local coordinating board do? Identify local service needs, provide information, advice, and direction to the CTC on the coordination of services provided within the system. And it serves as an advisory board to the commission regarding a particular service area. So for the ones that have been there, Seth, you've been to the round tables that we do every year. Every year we have a meeting at the TD commission politely called a roundtable, where all the MPOs and many of the transit agencies basically get into a room and start having a conversation of what they're seeing, what are the issues they're having, what can we better, how can we better it, and what processes are either not working or can work better. So that's kind of a take on the last bullet there. So the duties of the board of the LCB. So again, it assists the CTC in establishing eligibility guidelines and trip priorities, evaluates the performance of the CTC, reviews and approves transportation disadvantage service plans and memorandum of understanding, appoints grievance committee, meets at least quarterly, reviews or recommends funding application, reviews strategies of service provided in the area, and evaluates multi-county and regional transportation opportunities. Now we go down to the CTC. This is what I was mentioning earlier. So there's three types of CTC services that can be provided. There is a sole source, which that CTC provides the whole service. They oversee it, they provide it, they manage, they do everything, and they bill directly to the commission. There is a partially brokered, which the CTC provides level oversight, so it does more of the administrative part of it, and they contract out the services and the vehicles, and in some cases, like Breeze does. Breeze owns half of the fleet nowadays, right? Ish. Half of the fleet, and does more of a higher level administrator, and Scott and his team takes care of the day-to-day services and mans the drivers and all that stuff. And then there is the fully brokered, which basically the CTC contracts the whole operation out. So going back to the 5 years and how they are selected and what is the process. So in the instance that there is a transit agency, a government transit agency that's willing to provide or wants to provide the services, we would have to go out for a procurement or figure out who's gonna do it. From there, the planning agency submits a recommendation to the commission for approval. So and the 5th year, we would have to figure out what meeting would be the one that we would go to. They meet, the CTE meets quarterly. Before the evaluation, the designation expires, to recommend or re-recommend the CTC. And then again, once that passes, it's good for 5 years. So the duties of the CTC, plans, administers, monitors, coordinates, arranges, and delivers coordinated transportation disadvantaged services originating in their designated service area. What does that mean? It operates a central call center. It determines transportation eligibility. It schedules trips, performance gatekeeping duties, invoices the purchase agency. It develops a TDSP with the local coordinating board. It prepares and submits AORs, and it recommends eligibility guidelines and trip prioritization to local coordinating board for non-sponsored trips. It goes to you now.
Oh,
I can.
oh, perfect. Okay. I should have made those bigger. So this is last year's TD ridership. The gray number is the total number of trips we provided that were not solely TD, just our overall number of trips that we provided. The blue is the TD trips that we provided, and then the percentage of trips that we provided. So January, 50% of the trips that we provided were TD trips. And it looked across the borders pretty consistently that way across the year. Go ahead, next one. This is the riders number of trips by months. This is all of our ridership on the Breeze on-demand services. It goes across, we're running about 30,000 trips a month. We're not seeing a lot of seasonality out of that. The the line that you see across that chart is the previous year's ridership. So you can see that we're still above the previous year's ridership for most of last year. Coming around this year, it's gonna be the same way. Number of passengers, the 380,000 passengers, it's up 18% from the year before. We provided 5,000 trips to Manatee County. It says 0% because this is the first year we've done that. Next year, it'll show an increase. The time in transit, it was up by 10%, miles in transit up 12%. The number of unique riders grew by 16%. And the number of requests that we processed was 340,000 with an average passenger trip of about 1.14 miles on the TD stuff. The ride rating still is up is at 96%. We get about 13.46% of our individuals that will provide a rating on us. And then on the bottom left-hand corner, you're gonna see by zone, the Northport, Venice, Lido, Siesta Key, we stopped service in this year, so next year that won't be on there at all. And then the little blue sliver is going to be the Manatee trips that we provide.
Seth, would it be, going back to the other time, would it be correct to say that the dip in trips in September, especially October from the hurricanes?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that seems like a Helene and Milton.
Yep, that's the Helene Mountain debacle.
What was why is it, going back to this one, the October one, I can assume it was the same thing.
Milton.
What was the June one? Is it just normal? I don't remember.
What that one would be?
We did have a.
We had a
big-
storm in June.
We had a big
Yeah,
bad storm.
that's right, we had a big,
Oh, that's the flood one.
Yeah, that's yeah,
Debbie?
Debbie.
there you go.
That's true. Hopefully we don't get one of those this year.
amen.
They can stay away.
Right, so this is the Breeze Plus service.
Yeah, we could see.
This is all of the advanced reservations that we do for the individuals that are qualified for the ADA or the TD program. You look at the numbers, the darker is the ADA, the lighter is the TD. You see it's about 50-50, a little more ADA than it is TD. You go to the right and we have scheduled preference. So you can make a trip request based on whether you want to depart at a certain time or you want to arrive at a certain time. You can't do both. So you look at that, most everybody is requesting for a depart at trip. And then the on-time performance is the bottom two. The one on the left is for the depart at. We're running about, it's too small, about 98% on time for that. The arrive by requests running behind me, 97% on that one. This is our airport transfers in the coordination with Manatee County. 1,262 different trips. It's up 30% from the year before, but the number of unique riders has dropped. Most of those are going to be work related. If you look at the pie chart in the bottom right-hand corner, the trips by hours again, early morning and then after work is when people are getting to and from that area. And then you look at the top one, it's the number of ADA and the number of TD trips that are transferred through there. So a lot of the trips that we take through there are going to be ADA trips and not TD trips.
That's it for you.
For now.
Oh.
Okay, the purchasing agency, so ultimately, talked about the commission, we talked about the appointments of the DOPA, we talked about the CTCs, but what is it all for? And what is all the service for, I guess is what I'm trying to get to. So it's ultimately for the agencies that purchase the transportation services. You look at a lot of the names that are up on the board, a lot of them are represented in these LCBs. That they have a large stake in the process. A lot of the trips that are provided, whether it be for groceries or whatnot, a lot of the trips that come from the TD have something to do with some of these organizations, or mostly or all of these organizations that are up on the screen. But it's important to reflect that of the system, the end, towards the end of the process of the services that are being provided. So the CT rider eligibility criteria. So there's two aspects to this. There's the TD trust fund eligibility. So how is that done? So the commission established guidelines for the transportation disadvantage eligibility, and then the local coordinating board, aka us, develop local eligibility policies based on the Florida statute, chapter 427, and the commission guidelines. So the CTT eligibility criteria as adopted in May 22, 1997. So no other funding is available, no other means of transportation is available, cannot ride normal public transportation. I don't want to use the word normal. Fixed route, or in the last years we've seen out of other ways of public transportation, whether that be on demand service or other parts of it. Physical or mental disability, age, income status is a specific percent of the poverty level, not no self-declaration allowed, and has some sort of ability to pay. So how can we help, or how can anybody in the public help? So like I mentioned earlier, also the greater part of the funding comes from the vehicle registrations, and it's 100% state funded. In addition to that, there's what is called the voluntary dollar. When you go to register your vehicle, renew your vehicle, there's a checkbox that you can check. And you can donate additional funding to the TD, and this funding will come directly to the organization that's providing the service, to the CTC. We try to push this as much as we can when we can. Granted, the additional voluntary dollars that we've received, or the CTCs that's received, are marginal. Correct me if I'm wrong, Seth, I believe 5 year was $5.
That's a good, no, that's a good way to say it.
So we try to put this one out as much as we can. It can be as low as $1, it can be however much you want, but we wanted to put that one out there so everybody knows that it exists and this is a possibility. The upcoming events and meetings, so next two LCB meetings, September meeting will be September 10th. And then we'll have one on November 12th. Obviously at the same time, to further notice, they'll be here. What else? We have the actual CTV meeting, the next scheduled CTV, and the only one that's currently scheduled is June 26, 2025 at 1 p.m. It'll be in Tallahassee. There will also be a virtual option via Teams. There will be one in December, but it still hasn't been scheduled. From the last message that I received from the People Commission when I asked for an update on this. Last but not least, there's the FPTA Annual Conference and Expo, which will be in St. Pete Beach from September 2nd through the 4th. That is where the roundtable will occur this year. We don't know what day or time of the conference yet. The TD Commission hasn't provided. They're still working on the schedule as to what day and time the roundtable will be held. Hopefully, we know about it soon, and anybody who's interested, well, once we get the information, we can make sure to forward it to everybody. And I think that's it. Questions? You've been through a lot of these.
Huh?
You've been through a lot of these. You can't have any questions.
No, it's the eligibility, it just said no self-declaration, what does that mean?
You can't determine your own disability.
Okay, thank you. Or just say that, okay, thank you. Simple.
Yeah, that's right. I ran through that really quick. And everybody's still trying to wrap their head around, or actually isn't any questions.
Seasoned pros.
That's right.
Actually. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Right on time.